What's up, guys? It's Aiden What If, and I am back with a new video. And this is what if Deku had an OP fear quirk. So, without any further ado, let's get straight into it. We start our story off as any normal story should start, with Izuku being a child and being born as normal. The only difference is that when Izuku is born, the doctor that proceeds to grab Izuku starts shaking immensely, like uncontrollably. He breaks out into a sweat. Something's wrong. His fellow doctor comes over to him and taps him on the shoulder, and he snaps out of it and hands the baby to Inko. Inko grabs the baby no problem, and the doctor's a bit shaken up, so he leaves. He can't do anything anymore because his hands are shaking, and you can't be a doctor if you have very shaky hands. So Izuku and Inko are together as the weeks pass, and Inko is allowed to take Izuku home, and she's cleared for the full bill of health. Izuku's taken home, and nothing really changes till about the age of 4. This is when Izuku is starting to go to more preschool. Not starting to go, but he's at preschool. The teacher is talking about how they're 4 years old and how sometimes when people are 4 years old, they may develop powers, and these are called quirks. Everyone's excited and can't wait. A week passes, and some children start to develop quirks very quickly. Some are on the weirder side, and some are on the not-so-weird side. Bakugo Katsuki is one of the kids who got a quirk. His is a very flashy one, and everybody applauds him for it. But for some reason, ever since this week started, everyone's been avoiding Deku like the plague. Even Bakugo is hesitant to talk to him. No one really understands why, and when they ask the teachers that they say they don't want to play with Izuku, they don't really understand why they're saying it, and the teachers don't understand why. So they call Inko up to the school and talk about it with Inko. Inko doesn't understand what's going on, so she basically just asks them if there's anything they can do about it. They say that they think it may be some kind of quirk, because this is unnatural. Kids don't typically fear quirks because they're kids. They don't understand the concept of that this could be dangerous to them. So for them to just be scared for no reason, there's either a quirk or some behavioral issues, which isn't the case. So you should take him to the quirk doctor. Inko nods her head and leaves, grabbing Izuku's hand as he continues to smile at her, and she smiles back. She says that they're going to the quirk doctor. About an hour or two later, she's in the line as she's called, Mrs. Midoriya. Inko stands up, looking shocked, looking both side to side, and she then smiles, getting Izuku up and walking over. The man with the clipboard and the bald head sits down in a chair and begins to explain how quirks manifest. He then says that he'll need to do a series of tests and that none of these will be harmful to Izuku in any way, and if anything hurts, for Izuku to tell him. Inko agrees and says it's fine, and Izuku nods his head, excited. The doctor then proceeds to do a number of tests. The standard, nothing too weird, but the doctor, every time he gets close enough to touch Izuku, he starts to shake, and he doesn't know why. And it's not just him. He brought in some extra nurses to help him, and they started to shake. And if anyone touched Izuku, they began to sweat profusely and looked as if they were terrified. The doctor didn't really know what to do with this, and he presumed it was a quirk because there's no reason a 4-year-old would be that scary to anyone. So he pronounced this quirk Dark Presence, that Izuku's ability is to scare people. His touch induces fear in whoever he touches. Inko was a bit shocked that a quirk could be so, specific, and that it did such a weird thing for a quirk. Typically, quirks only, are flashy or physical change or something, but for this to be specific, it's a bit weird. Inko then wonders why it didn't happen to her, while she's not scared of Izuku. The doctor then explains that it may be because of the fact that she was linked to Izuku before his quirk activated, so when his quirk did activate on his birth, she had already been exposed to it for long enough to where the quirk recognized her as a non-threat. And Inko says, "The quirk?" And the doctor then nods his head slowly, saying, "Yes, I do believe that the quirk is sentient," which isn't uncommon, but very very strange. You don't get many of these. It's quite rare, but it's not completely impossible. Sometimes the quirks are a bit more sentient. Inko's a bit disturbed, but Izuku doesn't really know what all these big words mean, so he just kind of smiles and nods his head joyfully, knowing he has a quirk. The weeks and years begin to pass by as Izuku notices his quirk's effects on people and how it works. Around the age of 8 years old, he proceeds to start getting whispers in his ear. He tells Inko about this, and Inko wonders if the quirk is finally talking to Izuku. She asks Izuku what the quirk is saying, and Izuku says it's not saying anything. She then says that she's going to take him to the doctor. They go to the doctor again, and it's not a quirk examination, it's more of a quirk test. This time when the doctor, not the same doctor, a different one, goes into the room, he immediately starts to break down in a sweat. Immediately sweating, falling to his knees and beginning to cry the moment he enters the room. The doctors proceed to grab him and get him out of there extremely quickly, but Izuku's bamboozled. He doesn't know what just happened. And something whispers to him saying, they're not safe. Izuku turns around looking mystified as to who just said that, and it says again, the doctors. Izuku then looks at the doctors saying, did you just say something? Through the glass. Of course they can't hear him, but they understand what he mouthed and shake their heads no. And the quirk begins to say, me, your quirk. Izuku then looks shocked as the quirk says, don't be so surprised. You were told I was sentient. Izuku then calms down and says, are you okay? The quirk then says, yes, I am here to protect us. Trust me. Izuku then nods his head and he begins to walk, and he goes for the door and he says, you won't make anyone scared, right? If they are not a threat. Izuku opens the door slowly and everyone kind of gives him a wide berth, and he goes over to his mother, who touches him and nothing happens to her. Izuku is wondering why exactly the doctors aren't falling to the ground anymore, and the quirk then says, you may call me Dark Presence, or whatever you wish. The reason I do not attack them now is because I am not confined. Being in a room by yourself with doctors is not safe. Izuku then nods his head and tells his mother that he's a bit hungry and he wants to go. Over the next couple of years, Izuku began to learn more about his quirk. Not just its name, he learns what it does, how to control it better, and where to use it and how to make sure it doesn't do anything. He only learns how to scare people on command and how to not scare people, but that's a pretty strong ability. Izuku's in class and everyone pretty much knows Izuku as just a normal kid. Not really unpopular, but not really popular. Bakugo Katsuki is looking at Izuku and asks him a question. Izuku turns his head to look, and Bakugo then says, stupid Deku. So you want to go to UA? Izuku then looks at him strangely, saying, of course, haven't I always said that? Bakugo then says, don't get smart, Deku. I'm asking because of your quirk. Are you sure they'll let you in? Izuku then says, oh, are you worried about me getting in? Bakugo then says, of course not, idiot. I just wanted to know if I'd have a challenge at UA. Izuku then says, not to worry. If they don't accept, well, they just don't. I'll still become the #1 hero. In your dreams, loser. Alright, now everyone quiet down. I was going to ask you a long-winded speech about why exactly you guys want to be good, productive citizens, but let's be honest. Everyone here probably wants to be some type of hero or do some exciting job. So, how many of you want to be heroes? As everyone starts to use their quirk, and the teacher smiles, saying, alright, everyone calm down again. Since you all want to be heroes, I wish you the best of luck. And as you know, the schools are currently scouting, so you will have around a 10-month period to get ready to take your exams for getting into these schools. I wish you all the best of luck and safeness, or I guess, on your journey as a hero. And the bell rings and everyone leaves. Izuku says bye to Bakugo, and Bakugo just snarls and walks off to his house. The weeks and months pass, but not much progress in Izuku's quirk can be made. Eventually, the day to go to UA arrives, and he goes. Izuku walks up to the gate and begins to open it when he notices that everyone's away from him. Everyone. He's walking, and in first there was a huge crowd of people, but now there's no one in front of him. How did he get to the gate so fast? He turns around to see that everyone's staring at him, and really, really far away from him, sweating. Izuku asks if Dark Presence is doing that, and Dark Presence says, yes, they are all quirked individuals. They are dangerous. Izuku doesn't mind and continues to open the door when all of a sudden Dark Presence goes crazy, losing its mind, screaming and yelling in Izuku's ear as he falls to the ground. Dark Presence then says, there is a danger near, a big one, turn around. Izuku turns around to see a bird? No, a guy, a person. Izuku then asks what's the problem with him, and Tokuyami then looks at him and says, hey you, are you alright? Izuku then says, yeah, I'm alright, don't worry. And immediately Dark Presence starts screaming louder, and Izuku's ears start to bleed as he says, do not communicate with him, he is dangerous. Tokuyami begins to come towards him as Dark Shadow immediately launches out of his stomach and immediately wraps around him, pushing Tokuyami back. That guy, he's a bit strange. Don't approach him so normally. You can't see what I see, but I see it perfectly. That's a threat. They both are confused and don't know what's going on when Aizawa walks out saying, you didn't even get to make it into the school before starting problems. I know this is going to be such a troublesome year. Everyone get together, get in the class. It's time to go. We have to give you guys your exams unless you don't want to go. Because last time I checked, you're late. Everyone gets up and starts running towards the school and getting inside. The normal tests go as, well, normal, until we get to the practical exam. Izuku's not sure how he'll do in the practical exam since his quirk works well on people but not really robots. Dark Presence then asks him if he would like power. Izuku's a bit startled by this and doesn't really know how to answer this because Dark Presence never really asked him a question like that. It's a bit unsettling. It sounds like a deal with the devil. And he says, if I were to say yes, what would I get? I would allow you to use my physical form. You have a physical form? Was this not relevant to tell me? No, it was not. If you were smart enough, you would have understood that. Anyway, would you like my assistance? Izuku then nods his head as President Mike then says, would I actually have to tell you to go in a real life situation? You better leave and get going. In the real world, people don't give you a time to go. Izuku runs up forward and approaches a robot quickly and he says, what do I do now? Extend your hand, Dark Presence says as he does, and it becomes clawed with darkness shrouding it. Izuku then, without his own control, slashes an entire robot into 3 pieces with one swing. Izuku doesn't understand what's going on. This is weird. It's never acted like this. He then says, I would not like to take over your body, but you do not yet have control over my physical form. It's best if I help you. Izuku then proceeds to rip apart all of the robots around, getting a fairly high score. Not the highest, but a fairly decent score, around 10th place. Izuku is astonished that he did so, but he was expecting a much lower assessment. There was no 0-pointer in this specific one because there seemed no need for it. It was much more interesting to see, the students themselves instead of the 0-pointer. There just wasn't a precedent for it, so they didn't do it. Izuku went home and weeks passed, and he got a letter. Dark Presence then asked him, "Is my name not long?" And Zuko looks at him, or tries to, but he can't see him, obviously. And he says, "Your name? What about it? It's long, is it not? Do you want me to give you a nickname? I said no such thing." "It sounds like you want me to give you a nickname." "Again, I said no such thing." I'll have to think about it. How about Yami, if that is what you wish to call me?" "Okay then, you're Yami." So, let's open this letter. Izuku opens the letter with minimal difficulty, and it's not paper, it's a projector or something. He puts it on his desk and it clicks on. It says, "Hello there, young student, young Midoriya. You, along with a few others of your class, have been accepted into the school UA. Now, I know this is an exciting prospect, but do not let yourself be overcome with joy yet. The struggles are still available, and there will be many more challenges ahead of you, but you have taken the first step to joining me, All Might, as one of the best heroes around. I believe that you and a few others have done a specifically great job in the practical exam, getting 10th place. You should be proud. Now, as I have many other invitation letters to do, I will keep it brief. Continue the good work, young Midoriya, and you will continue to rise as a hero." It ends, and Izuku's excited. He got accepted. This was going to be the start. In a few weeks, everyone got settled and went to school, and it was a normal day. Izuku was perfectly fine with this, seeing as he liked school. He wasn't bad at it, and he wasn't particularly a go-getting student, but he wasn't stupid either. So he was fine. Aizawa had been their teacher for a little while when he eventually told them all to quiet down. They got quiet, and he said, "I would tell you everything that's going to happen, but I'm kind of tired, so I'll just let him do it." And the moment he says him, All Might busts through the door saying that he's entering normally. Everyone then sweat drops, saying that he's clearly not entering normally. He then proceeds to tell them that they will be doing a little exercise, and that they should meet him at one of the practice cities for a little exercise. Everyone again sweat drops, seeing that he's saying exercise weirdly again, and they follow him to that specific training ground. All Might then explains the rules, that there will be a villain team and there will be a hero team. The objective of the hero team is to either capture all villains and stop the bomb, and for the objective for the villains team is to capture all heroes or delay them until the bomb hits 0. You will all be selected on your teams by random coincidence, so there will be no picking of teams. You do not know in any kind of situation who you may be paired up with, and shouldn't go into battles expecting to have your perfect teammate. Now, let's begin. After a few turns and a few people going, Izuku's name finally pops up. He's on the villain team. Izuku and Yami both chuckle, saying, "Wow, that's a bit fitting." But the next thing surprises them. Tokoyami is also on the villain team. What an interesting matchup. Now, for the hero team. You will be facing off against Bakugo Katsuki and Kirishima on the hero team. Villains, you have 5 minutes to set up. Go. Izuku tries to approach Tokoyami, but Yami is immediately aggressive again, screaming and yelling in his ear not to talk to him. Izuku just kind of mouths to him over a distance to go inside the building and prepare. Tokoyami nods and they both go in. The 5 minutes are up, and Izuku can already hear Bakugo coming down the hallway. Izuku's right there, ready for him. Bakugo immediately tries to overwhelm Izuku with as much of his explosions as he can, going as far as to release one of the pins in his gauntlet grenade arms immediately. Izuku is shocked that Bakugo will go this hard and jumps back. He asks Bakugo why he's so serious, and Bakugo then says, because of your quirk. Izuku then tries to make eye contact, but Bakugo closes his eyes and starts spinning down the hallway, exploding everything around his path. Izuku, not knowing what to do, asks Yami for his assistance as he covers him in a kind of black bubble and blocks the attack. Bakugo, not expecting to hit something solid yet because he knew exactly he predicted how long the hallway would be, opens his eyes, and Izuku opens his eyes and intensely looks at Bakugo, and Bakugo immediately freezes, falling flat on his face to the ground. He then proceeds to sweat profusely, shaking a bit in the end. Izuku uses his tape to restrain him, and then, it has restrained him. He takes Bakugo's body all the way back up to where Tokoyami is, and he tosses him from the door to Tokoyami to catch him. He says that he'll go after the other guy. Tokoyami just nods as he goes back down the stairs to see Kirishima running up the stairs. Kirishima jumps at him trying to punch him, and Izuku dodges the attack and looks him in the eye, freezing him again and wraps him up with tape. But unlike with Bakugo, he's a bit more heavy, so he just leaves him there and tells someone. He just starts yelling out to the cameras that's nearest to him that he's completed the mission and that the villain team won. All Might and the other students are seeing this, so they give the win to Deku and Tokoyami. And that is going to be the end of part 1 if What If Deku had an OP fear quirk. So, without any further ado, I'll end this episode and give you a part 2 if you want to see it.